Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at Riderflex. We hope you enjoy today's podcast. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the Riderflex show for updates on new episodes. And by the way, if you haven't already, check out the book we recently launched, The Riderflex Guide, Inspiring and Hiring, available for purchase on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
Megan Hanson on the Riderflex podcast. Hi, Megan, and happy holidays, by the way.
You too. I'm excited to be here.
We're recording this on December 20th for the listeners. Don't know for sure when we'll get it out. Maybe not till 1st of January, but Christmas right around the corner. Are you ready? You got everything ready? Or are you finishing up? What's the situation at your house?
We are hosting a Christmas Eve. We usually have a hard time traveling around the holidays just because our team members are all traveling. So we will be here and we'll be hosting, but no, I'm not ready. Haven't gone to the grocery store. I still haven't finished all my presents. So got a lot to do in the next couple of days.
So you're hosting Christmas Eve at your house. So how many people are you going to have?
Just about like 8 to 10, a small little gathering.
Okay, that's not too bad. Not too bad. And
Yeah.
that is that your parents, your husband's parents, kids? You got kids, by the way?
No kids, but my sister and her fiance, they live here, so they'll be coming over, and then we'll have some close friends over for a little dinner party. Our family is out east, but we're staying in Colorado this year.
Let me guess, your family's in Mass or somewhere in there. I noticed you went to school at Northeastern.
Yeah. So my husband's family is in Massachusetts. I grew up in Maine, but now my parents live in Charlotte. But we lived in Boston for like 7 years before we moved out here about 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. And now the sister that's going to be over for Christmas, is that Lindsay, the same one you talk about on your website?
It is. Yes, it is Lindsay. She works at the studio as well.
Oh, she does. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. When she comes over for the holiday, she's like, hey, listen, by the way, if it wasn't for me, you guys wouldn't even be doing this because it was my idea.
Yeah. She's a huge part of High Ride. So yes, she does take credit for some of it.
And she works there. That's her job full time?
She does not do it full time. She works in HR full time, but she teaches about 5 to 6 classes every week. And she's been teaching with us since we opened 5.5 years ago.
Now, how does that go when you don't think she's doing a good enough job as your sister? Are you like, hey, Lindsay, look, I need to have a little counseling session with you. What does that look like?
Well, at High Ride, we have a really big feedback driven culture. And yes, giving your younger sister feedback is not always easy, or my husband giving me feedback is not always easy. So sometimes it leads to some fights, but overall, we work really well together.
Hey, I just did a post on this today, this morning, matter of fact, on LinkedIn, because our daughter works with Kim and I. We have a recruiting firm. That's what Riderflex does for a living. Our day job is a recruiting firm, and we have about 30 employees, and our daughter is one of them. And Kim, my wife, also works in the company. So I did a post this morning, like, hey, family and business, it can be tricky at times. It can be tricky.
Yes. Yes, I mean, that's to say the least. So you know how it goes. I mean, I always say our first year of business, I thought my husband and I were going to get a divorce. I did not think we were going to make it, but we have made it through. We have really developed our roles, which has helped us a ton. And, now we've been working for 5.5 years together, and we still have our challenges, but I think we're in a way better place than when we first started out the business.
You got to have your lanes, right? You got to have kind of your areas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, and not that you can't overlap, and not that you don't talk about the entire scope of the business, sometimes at home, but day to day, I think it's important to kind of stay in your lane and do what you're responsible for the most part, right? That's what Kim and I try to do. I mean, we do cross over, especially we find ourselves crossing over on personnel more than anything, people, right? Mm-hmm. People that work for us. She has her opinions, I have my opinions, and if we end up in any debates, it's usually about something people/HR related in some way.
That's so interesting. And I mean, so true. But I 100% agree with really define what your roles are or what your lane is in order to make your whole work-life balance a lot better. Because at first we were not doing that. And that was our biggest challenge. And now we really know okay, you excel at this. this is what you're responsible for. This is what I'm responsible for. And that has helped a lot.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So, all right. So you grew up in Maine. Your parents, I think you said your parents are down further south now.
Yeah, well, I moved around my whole life, but I moved to Maine when I was in high school. So I kind of call that
Oh,
home.
okay.
My parents probably about 10 years ago moved to Charlotte. So now they're
Okay.
in Charlotte, but I kind of call Maine home, Maine or Boston.
Okay. And you moved around a bunch because your dad or mom, somebody had different jobs, or what was it? What was the deal?
Yeah, my dad was in the army, so we moved around a lot when I was younger because of that. But then he became part of a leadership team that would go into offices, build up the leadership team, and then move once they were in a good place. So usually we didn't live anywhere longer than 5 years, and then we would move somewhere new, which I hated when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But now it has made me more adaptable, more flexible, and so I appreciate it now. But growing up, your friends are everything, so that was really challenging.
So moving to Maine while you were in high school, you were like, you hated
Yeah,
your parents for a few months right there. You're like, I can't believe you're doing this to me.
exactly. Well, I hated my dad. I didn't not talk to him for like 6 months. We moved out before my dad came out, and he would call to talk to us, and I would be like, I'm not talking to you. I like hated him at first, but I love Maine and I love my friends and my life I built there. So, I appreciate him now.
Your people skills and your leadership skills and your soft skills and all of it definitely were shaped by the moves. No doubt about it.
Oh, for
Right.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Cause you're like, okay, I guess I'm in the cafeteria with new people. Let me see. Let me see I got to make friends with somebody.
You got to figure it out. Yeah.
Were you always athletic? Were you an athlete? You play a bunch of sports? Was health and fitness later in life or it was with you from childhood?
Yeah, growing up, I mean, my parents are very active. My mom still has records at her country club that she swam at when she was young, and my dad was an athlete as well. So growing up, we always did competitive sports, even if it was just like us playing against each other.
Okay.
But in high school, I swam and I danced and played a couple other sports, but swimming was my major sport. And so I've always been into sports and fitness and
Okay.
did a club team when I was in high school, but I mean, I've just loved working out since I was younger and loved being part of a team since I was younger.
Were you tall? Because I always envision most swimmers as tall.
I'm 5'8". I'm a little taller than average, but pretty much average. But
Oh,
yes,
okay.
I guess taller than I think the average female is 5'6". So a little
Okay.
taller than
Okay. And your husband is tall too then? Because I think I saw a photo of it.
yeah, he's 5'11". He's not that tall, but
Oh,
5'11", I think pretty
oh,
average as
okay.
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all right, very good. So I guess were you a straight A student in high school? Like you did all the right things then because your dad was pretty I'm guessing your dad was pretty hardcore guy. I don't know. I'm guessing he wasn't a softie.
I actually think my mom was more hardcore than my dad. She always made the rules, but
Ah.
he's a little bit of a softie with his three girls that he
Oh,
had.
you had
Um,
three. Okay. All right, two sisters. All
Yes,
right.
there's
All
three
right.
of us. So I'm the middle, and then I have a younger sister and a younger sister and an older sister.
Oh.
And I was definitely the problem child.
Oh, you
I
were.
never slept when I was a kid. I was a terrible toddler. I was a little monster in high school, but the thing was I still did really well in sports and I still did really well in school. So I kind of just juggle it all. But I wasn't the best student, I would
But
say. I kind of just did the bare minimum.
grades good enough to get in Northeastern though, right?
Yeah, true. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. You didn't ever have to call your dad from the police department or the sheriff's office, did you?
I did not. Luckily, my younger sister did, but not me.
Oh, Lindsay's gonna really appreciate you saying that.
I'll throw it right under the bus. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Okay. So why Northeastern? And what was the original plan?
Well, Northeastern was such a good school at the time, and I think an even better school now with such a great
Sure.
reputation. What I really, really loved about it is I wanted to be in a city. I wanted to move somewhere that just felt out of my comfort zone. And Boston was a close enough city that it felt comfortable for me, but still outside of the box.
Okay.
And then in addition, they have a cooperative leadership program where you do an internship for 6 months and then you're in school for 6 months. And I just thought it was really going to set me up for success. And with real world experience, I would graduate and then, be able to get a job better than some others. And so I am so obsessed with their program and so obsessed with Northeastern. I am so grateful that I decided to go there. I couldn't imagine going to any other school at this point. It really did set me up for success. And one of the jobs that I had in my internships, I worked for them after I graduated. So it really helped me to, get my foot in the door right off the bat.
Very good. And you went right into marketing, and then you got pushed into merchandising, and then eventually somebody said, "Hey, your people skills are awesome. You should be in sales."
Yeah, exactly. You know my whole story. I love it.
And did you have entrepreneurial aspirations, while you were at Pact Apparel? Did you were you thinking I want to open up my own company someday, or you weren't even thinking that way?
Yeah, even going back to when I worked at General Mills and worked for the small startup called Food Should Taste Good, which was a chip company, a natural tortilla chip company, I always thought that I wanted to open up my own business,
Oh,
but I
oh,
always thought it was going to be in food,
okay.
in CPG products. But there was never really anything that I loved. Um, but I remember when I was working at General Mills, I was just like, I couldn't put my finger on it. I just didn't love it. And my dad asked me, what do you want to do with your life? And I'm like, I want to do health and fitness full time. I mean, that's what I'm passionate about. I want to do that. And that was, 15 years ago, 12 years ago. But at the time, I didn't think I could really make a living in health and fitness. And I didn't even know how to get my foot in the door.
Mm.
But then when I was working at Pact, I decided to get my spin certification with my sister. And I had been watching the studio in Boston grow. A girl went to undergrad with me at Northeastern, and she opened a studio in Boston called Revved. And I was just talking to my sister about it. And she was like, well, there's nothing here in Denver like that. You should open a studio. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I should open a studio. And then it's all I could think about and all I wanted to do. And so, we were kind of full steam ahead. My husband was 100% on board. And then we just kind of started looking into it and made it a reality, which is crazy thinking back now. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, but I now can't imagine my life without it.
And what did your husband do at the time? I think he started the business in 2016. What was he doing?
He was working inside sales for a company that was out of Boston called Burst Media. And then when he moved out here, he worked from home, and they did a big round of layoffs right around the time when we signed the lease on our first location. And so we decided that he would work at High Ride full time, and I would keep my full time job in order to pay the bills.
Ah, I see. By the way, how did you guys meet? I forgot to ask you that.
We met at Northeastern.
Oh, you.
So
Oh, okay.
Northeastern's a 5-year program, and we met our third year, and we lived like 2 blocks away from each other. We had 3 classes together. We had a lot of mutual friends. So we've been together for a while now.
Okay, got you. All right. So you sign the lease, what? And then like the next day he gets laid off, and you're like, oh shit. Okay, now what do we do?
Yeah, basically. Yes. Um, we thought that, I was going to quit my job and do this full time, and he was going to use his salary to kind of
Oh
pay for our
man.
life until we started
Uh,
making money. And then we signed the
uh.
lease, and then he got laid off. And you're right. It was like, oh shit. Now what do we do? Yeah,
So your first experience at pivoting was right before you started.
exactly. And believe me, we've had a lot more since then, which is crazy.
That is wow. That's pretty wild. Okay. Now, but it was your dream, kind of your obsession. So was there this weird kind of for the first 6 months or however you're like, okay, well, my husband's getting to live my dream and I'm still having to do this other crappy
Yeah.
job. But was there had to be some of that in there a little bit.
Well, and I think that's, part of the reason why I say like the first year of our business, I really thought that we were going to get a divorce because I think I resented him so
Sure.
much because
Sure.
he got to be there every single day while I, worked, but he was working just as hard, but he was working on the business that, we had built together.
Hmm.
But now looking back, I do think it makes sense the way that it happened because I teach classes and I need someone working the front desk while I'm there, and he doesn't teach, I wouldn't have been able to do both. So I'm happy it worked out that way, but at the time it didn't feel that
Oh
way.
yeah, I'm sure. I could only
Yeah.
imagine at the time. You're like, So he never was one of the guys on the cycle. He never was teaching classes. He never did do that.
No, he was never. So before we started the studio, I was like, I think that you need to teach. I think that you need to know what the instructors are going through. I think you should teach. This is our business. It's going to be our whole life. And so he taught at a local gym just to get some experience. It's the same gym that I taught at. And he just never loved it. And I think if you don't love it, you shouldn't do it, because this is such a passionate thing. When you're up there, it's very performative, and it just doesn't feel right if you're not in love with it. So
Mm.
he's kind of the behind the scenes, the operations finance guy. I'm more of the instructor management marketing piece. And again, it's good because we have our lanes and we have our roles, and so we're a little separated there.
Okay. No, I think that's great. Yeah. Okay. Very good. How long did you have to stay in that other job before you were able to join him? Was that like a year and a half, 2 years? What was that?
Yeah, it was a year. Our first year of business, we went through a terrible lawsuit with our former landlords,
Ooh.
which is insane to think about. But so we were really worried about losing the business and about losing everything we had worked for, because we put a lot of our own money into it. So I kept the job until that lawsuit was closed. And then, a couple more months, and then I decided to quit once we were in a better place financially.
Let me guess. You don't have to go into all the details, but let me guess. Something to do with build out costs that somebody didn't hold their end of the bargain, right?
Sort of. We a spin studio is loud. We play our music loud. I was very worried about that from the very beginning. And
Uh,
so we purposely put into the contract that they were responsible for soundproofing the building and making sure the building was sufficient and suitable for a cycling studio.
hmm.
And before we even opened our doors, when we were doing an instructor training, our neighbors complained
Boy.
below us and then also to the side of us. So we
Mm,
tried to remedy the situation by putting soundproofing in after the fact, and it just nothing really worked. And so they tried to evict us, and we countersued them for breach of contract and ended up
mm.
settling like the day before we were supposed to go to court.
Okay. Are you still in the same location?
No, no, but we have moved. And honestly, like looking back, that was very hard for your first year of your business. You have no idea what you're doing. And then you're going through a lawsuit with
Mm,
your landlords. It was
mm, mm,
terrifying.
mm,
But
mm.
looking back, it is a blessing in disguise because we have moved to an even better location. We learned a lot from our first location that we've brought to the second
Great.
location. And
Great.
I mean, are doing a lot better there.
You almost need like a freestanding location with nobody next to you, don't you?
Yeah. Yes. Now we are putting our bathrooms and our hallway in between any shared wall that we
I
have. And
see.
then we do very extensive soundproofing because of our lessons that we've learned in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah. Well, I could see both sides of that. Not both, not the landlord side, but your tenant side. I could see the tenant side. Like, I mean, you have to be loud because that's you're a loud business. If I was on the side of you, I wouldn't want it to be loud. So I understand how a tenant next to you might be like, "Oh my God, they're driving me crazy."
Oh, and
So
I don't blame them at
yeah,
all.
it's
I
not
mean,
their
I blame
fault.
our
No.
landlords.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Wow, you two major hurdles right there in the beginning with damn. Well, there had to be nights where you're like, okay, fuck it. That's just I can't.
I quit. Yeah. Yes, but there were definitely nights where I was like, I can't do this. This is
Yeah,
so hard,
yeah.
especially for the first year of business. But I mean, it's like, it's all we've worked for. All of our money was in it.
Mm,
And I'm happy we didn't quit. I mean, you definitely have to have a lot of grit and determination as a small business owner to
yes.
get through something like
Grit.
that.
Grit is a
Yes.
key word. Did your
Yeah.
folks or friends, anybody, was there any family angel money in here, or just you and your husband put the money in and then you borrowed? How'd you cash flow it?
So my father-in-law, his name is Dennis. He put some money in at the beginning,
Okay.
and so he has a portion of our business. He owns 15% of our business, and
Okay.
he has been such a help in like growing our business. He's a silent partner, but whenever we need some coaching or need some help through things, he's there to help us. So that's been
Great.
really great.
Great.
Both of our parents are in business, so that has been helpful because we always have someone to reach out to if we have any questions about anything, especially at the beginning when we had no idea how to run a business or no idea what we were doing.
Oh man, 50-50. So it's not 50-50 because your father-in-law owns a small
Yeah.
piece. Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. That's the only investor then. So it's you got you and your husband and him then, no other outside cash.
Right. I mean, we basically took a lien out on our house. We maxed out our credit cards. I mean, any savings we had, we put into the business. So it was just, I mean, it's insane thinking about that. And I think we're crazy for doing that. But at the time, we couldn't get a small business loan because we had nothing to show for it or nothing to prove for ourselves. So we were like, well, I guess we'll do it by ourselves.
Wow. And just about the time when did the lawsuit end? Like 20, when was that?
So we opened in July of 2017 and we settled the lawsuit in April of 2018. So it was
And
almost a
then
year.
and then right after that, COVID came.
Yeah. Yes.
Holy, holy cow. Oh, well, guess what? We can't have any of our customers come to our location. Wow, great. All right, now what do we do? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And during COVID, we had a car run into our building. So that was really great as well. Yeah, COVID, I
Oh
mean,
my
COVID
God.
was
Uh,
very challenging for, I would say, all small business owners, especially small business owners who have physical locations that rely on their customers coming into their businesses.
but you're in the top 10 percentile of the most affected. I mean, come on. I mean, holy cow. Oh
Mhm.
wow. All right. So you guys qualified for and filed for every single possible PPP loan, disaster loan. I'm sure you filed for everything. I hope.
Yes, we did, but I think people think that those loans are better than they really are. I mean, the loan that we got only covered one third of our expenses
Yeah.
for 1 month.
Yeah.
So luckily we had, I mean, my husband is very good about saving and very good about managing our money. And luckily we had enough to last us for 6 months, in case we were closed for 6 months.
Man.
But we
Man.
did everything that we could do to make money. I mean, we rented out all of our bikes. Some of our amazing customers said, hey, we'll keep paying you, even though we know we can't come into your business just to support, which was really cool because our community kind of stepped up to help us out.
Mm.
But it was definitely a challenging
Mm.
time, definitely a hard time and really scary.
More tears and more nightmares and more sleepless nights.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
was,
I don't think I've ever really struggled with anxiety, depression until that happened. And then
yeah.
was just crying all the time, couldn't get out of bed. I mean, it was really hard and really scary. Looking back, it's like, it feels like a completely different time. And I'm really happy it's behind us.
Interesting. I explained to somebody the other day. I said, I think what I did at some point is I just kind of became numb. I like forced myself to just kind of become numb almost and almost like block it from my mind. Like I kind of just started waking up every day, pretending like it wasn't there, and just trying to go forward and not think about it and get numb to the fear, I guess, right?
Mhm.
Because if you analyze on it and think about it too much, it'll just drive you crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, same thing. I mean, as a small business owner, first of all, as a small business owner, you're always nervous to a certain degree all the time, no matter what's going on.
Right.
And
Isn't
then,
that the truth?
you know,
Yes.
you're never fully relaxed. I was just telling somebody the other day, we're up in Missouri seeing my family for Christmas, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you just, can't you just stop working and relax?" I'm like, "Let me explain something to you. When you own a business, you're never really off. Not really, because your brain is always cycling something about the business, right? It's very difficult. I've gotten better, but it's hard. It's hard to relax. And don't you envy just being an employee sometimes every once
Yes.
in a while where you're like, wow, employees, they just come home from work and they shut it off and they don't even think about it. It's not like that for us, is it, Megan?
It's so funny you say that because I think at the beginning, of our business, a lot of our friends or people that were around us, or family members, were like, well, you can just make your own schedule. Like you can take a vacation whenever you want. And I was like,
Yeah.
that is not how it works. I mean, you are on call 24/7, especially when you have 30 plus people working for you and
Yes,
texting you at all hours because your studio is open at all hours,
that's
right?
right. Right.
And
Yeah.
you work harder than I would say any of your employees, and you
Yes.
work more than you ever would work at another business.
No
So,
doubt.
yeah, I mean, I don't think people really realize that until they work for themselves or until they own their own business. It is such a grind.
Such a grind. And we could do a 4 hour long podcast on it. And anybody
Yes.
that has never actually been an entrepreneur will still not understand until they actually try it. I mean, that's just, I can tell you anything on this show you want to hear, but until you dive into the swimming pool yourself and actually do it, you just won't fully understand.
And I 100% agree. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought I worked hard before I started this business, and I'm like looking back, I'm like, no, barely.
Yes. Aren't you
Yeah,
like,
it's the biggest challenge.
do you do this? Since I've been up here in this little town in Missouri where I'm seeing my wife's family for the holidays, we've gone into several little mom and pop locations. There was a little coffee shop and another little place that's trying to make bourbon down here. And there was another restaurant we went to, family owned restaurant. And I am always like trying to talk to the owner. I'm always like, okay, is the owner here? Like, I want to talk to him. Like, I just always have this special empathy for small business owners, right? And there was this great restaurant we went to in this little town, and she was there. The owner was there, hustling dishes behind the bar, moving, with the employees. And I knew she was the owner. Nobody even had to tell me. I could just tell. And I asked one of the waitresses, I was like, is that the owner? And she's like, yeah, it sure is. And I was like, yeah, I figured it was. And she came over and snapped a picture with us. And I just told her, I said, her name was Shelby. I said, Shelby, I was like, I said, I have so much respect for everything you're doing. Here it is, a Saturday night. You're probably 45 years old. You're back there humping it with these 20-year-olds just hustling. And this is what it takes to be a business owner,
Right.
you know?
I mean, yes, so true. I respect business owners in such a different way now than I did before I started this business. And I think that I've started to find a network in Denver of business owners to connect with, because it's like no one understands what you're going through
That's right.
until you meet another person. And it's literally like a therapy session just to have dinner with another business owner. You're like, you just 100% understand what I'm going through. And
No doubt.
you just 100% get it. And that is refreshing. And also, you're in the same boat. You can respect them for all of their hard work and what they put into their craft and their business as
One,
well.
one, one final thing on that particular topic before we move on. Isn't it interesting when you're at like Christmas holiday dinner or whatever, and there's like 15 family members sitting around, you're the only entrepreneur in the room. And so, you're making some small talk conversation and everything, and you're enjoying the family, but you're just kind of looking around, you're going, all right, none of you people in here know what I'm going through.
Yes. Yes, I feel that way all the time.
Me too. So tell us, all right, so for the listeners, let's get the quick overview and the story in here. So it's High Ride Cycle, and it's highridecycle.com is the website. And there are two locations now I think, right? Sloan's Lake and what else?
North Glen. Mm-hmm.
And North Glen. So you got two locations. Plus, I think you are also generating some revenue from an app where people can work out from home, right? Why not, I don't know if I got all that right, but why don't you give it to us? Give us the overview of High Ride Cycle as it stands today. Go for it.
Yeah, so we opened High Ride about 5.5 years ago with our first location, our Sloan's Lake location.
Okay.
And then our second location is in North Glen, and we opened that about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, right before the shutdown, which was challenging, but exciting enough. We are opening a third location in this spring, and that's going to be down by DU, by Denver University.
Cool.
And so that's exciting. And then we also partner with a company called Stride Bike. It's kind of like Peloton. They have an at-home bike with a tablet, and we film a lot of the content for them. And then they do all of the manufacturing of the bike at home. And we just work with that company to film the content in one of our studios.
Oh, what about, didn't I see an app though as well?
Yeah, so the Stride Bike also has an app. So they have an app on the tablet, and then they also have the bike. So you can just get
I,
the app if you want it,
oh,
or
I
you
see.
can get the bike with the app.
Okay. How do you guys make money on that? Or do they just pay you for a certain amount of content? Do you get paid by user? How do you guys make money on that?
We get paid per class that we film for them. So all of the content that we film. And then
Ah,
in addition to that, we help them sell bikes to some of our customers who have moved across country. And so they give us a little bit of a bonus on each bike that we sell.
how about residuals? Why can't you tell them, look, every single time this film is played, you're going to pay us? How
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe one day we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, that's yeah, totally. How is that? I don't mean to bring up like what could be competitors. How's it different from iFit? Which don't they have like a video thing too, or does they somebody's doing some filming for them, right? The reason I know this is because Riderflex, our recruiting firm, we do some recruiting for iFit, and my wife
Okay.
has one of those bikes with the iFit app on it, so I see the instructors doing their thing. How's it different, or is it the same? Or
I bet it is very similar. I've never ridden one of their classes, but it's probably very similar with different instructors, a different bike. The Stride bike is really, really sturdy and it's pretty affordable, which is nice. And then the tablet that they have is unlocked. So you can watch, our classes, or you can watch Hulu or Netflix on it. So it kind of just depends on what you're looking for. But I'm sure that a lot of the other bikes follow the cadence and the RPMs and the resistance cueing and everything that we do. So it's probably very similar.
well, one thing I do know for sure that's different is they don't have the whole. I'm going to say dance, but I know that's not the right word, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's give me the right verbiage? What's the
Yeah, so we call our ride a dance party on a bike. We ride to the beat of the music and then add upper body movements in to get a full body workout. Most of our classes are 45 minutes in studio. On the app, we have anything that ranges from 10 minutes to 60 minutes. So it depends on, how much time you have in between a work call or something at home. But in the studio, it's 45 minutes and we ride to the beat of the music. We have a lot of different styles on the app. So we have performance rides and we have low impact rides and we do have the dancey rides that you were talking about. But in studio, we have our signature high ride method, which is just riding to the beat with those movements that I talked about.
the website's great, and I love the little videos and stuff. So it's very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
I will say, can you mix in a few more older people in the video? I don't know. There's a lot.
Sure. We would love it.
Your average age of a client, you call them clients. I don't know what you call them, clients, customers,
Clients or riders, yeah.
riders. Your average rider's how old do you think?
About 34. And I would say, I mean, I know this because I just did a report on this, but 90% female right now.
I noticed that in the videos, couldn't help but notice that, which is really attractive for single guys, but I don't know about the rest of
Yes,
the guys.
perfect.
Yeah. How do you? That's an interesting question, and I actually didn't prep that question ahead of time before the interview. How do you get 40-year-old married dudes in there? Like, how do you do that? I mean, is that like that is an untapped market, isn't it?
It's interesting because I feel like when men come with their partner, they love it. They realize it's a really good cardio workout and it's really challenging for them. So they love it, but they're just a little bit less apt to just go into a workout studio and try it without someone pushing them. So they take a little bit longer, but once they do come, then they're addicted to it and they stay longer with us. But yeah, I mean, it's all about our marketing too. So we do a lot of social media advertising and we cater to men and women from the ages of 25 to 45. That's who we try to target.
Interesting that those 40-year-old guys will go into the gym and lift free weights. Right.
Yeah.
I wonder what the stats are on free weight gym membership people, male versus female. It's probably heavily dominated male, I would think. I don't know.
Right.
Wrong, but
I don't know. I don't know, but I do think, I would agree with you. I think they're more comfortable going to a gym and lifting weights than they are going to a group fitness class and maybe looking like a fool for their first class or something. Because, it's not easy. Your first class, you're kind of just figuring it out. Your first 3 to 5 classes, we say, you're just figuring out our ride and getting used to our movements. And at first, everyone is a newbie, everyone's a beginner and they don't know what they're doing. So you just have to learn and throw yourself into it.
I'm sure you've thought about the next thing I'm about to say, because I can tell you what goes through the mind of a 55-year-old man like me. And I'm married, of course, to my wonderful, beautiful wife for 22 years, who's right over there because we're in our RV and she can hear everything I'm saying. Uh, I tell you what goes through my mind as going through what would be intimidating for me, not just the fact that everybody there is in better shape than me. That would be one thing. The other thing would be, yes, heavily female, heavily younger than me, and my you know, there's a lot of beautiful people around in the room. I'm not one of them. And so I'm there. I'm like, look at all these beautiful people. I'm just the old overweight 55-year-old dude, and everybody's gonna think I'm some old creeper guy being in here, and I'm just here to look at the girls. They're gonna think I'm weird. Like that's what would go through my head. That's what would go.
That's so funny because I don't think that really goes through anyone's head. Like, look at the old creepy guy. And I
Okay.
also
Okay.
think, in our studio, we do a really good job. Our whole team does a really good job of not focusing on age,
Okay.
weight, body shape, ethnicity, social
Okay.
status, gender, because we really want to welcome and make everyone feel comfortable, no matter, who you are or where you come from, no matter if you've come to a cycling class 0 times or 1,000 times. So
Okay.
that's really important to me that we don't, judge a book by its cover and
You
judge
should
someone by what they look like.
you should give a bonus to the women that are married if they bring their husband in. They should get like a
Yeah.
discount. You get your husband to
Yeah.
join, it's like X amount off. I just thought of a great comparison. I am never apprehensive about going to get a manicure or a pedicure as long as my wife's with me. If Kim's with me, I'll walk in there. No big deal. I'm not. It doesn't bother me. I'm not embarrassed. I don't feel wimpy. Whatever. I'll go in there. No big deal. But if she's not with me, I kind of like don't go in. I don't like to go by myself. I don't know why. That's
Yeah.
weird, isn't it? Isn't it? I wonder if guys think of the same. I wonder if guys
Well, I
think the
think
same way about your class. I don't know.
I think at the end of the day, everyone just wants to belong, right? So if they feel like they are not belonging or
Mm,
don't look like everyone
mm,
around
mm,
them,
mm.
it feels uncomfortable. I
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
think that's
Good
only a
point.
male thing. I think it in general is a female and male thing. It's an all gender thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I think men are typically a little bit more scared to try something new and to look like a fool or to
Yes.
look like they don't belong. And
Yes.
I do
Yes.
think that plays a part in it for sure.
Well, looks like you're busy already, even without the guys. But because you're opening up a new location. Is there a waiting list to get in? Like what on one of your current locations? Is there like a wait list to get in class, or how does that work?
Yeah, our Sloan's Lake location is very busy. We run anywhere from about 8 classes to 12 classes a day, and a lot of those classes are on wait lists. We have about a 85 to 90% utilization, and we continue to add more classes so
Good for
that
you.
our customers can,
Right.
ride when they want to ride.
Good for you.
That studio, as I mentioned, has been around a lot longer than North Glen. North Glen, we're still building our membership base there steadily, and that one does about 40% utilization.
Are
So
your are your instructors? I think is what you call them. Instructors, teachers. Are your
yeah.
teachers contract 1099 or employees?
Yeah, so all of our instructors are 1099.
Yeah.
We have a lot of employees that are part-time or full-time that work our front desk as well.
And clean the equipment and do all that.
Mhm. Yeah, or we have a marketing person, we have an area lead who manages all of our studios and does a lot of operations and sales. So we have a pretty big team for 2 locations.
Now I know how it is to manage 1099 folks because at our recruiting firm, out of our 30 people, 20 of them are 1099 recruiters, contractors, but we try to get them to follow the Riderflex recruiting method. Of course, not all
Mhm.
contractors want to be told how to do it. Do you
Yeah.
ever you get teachers in there and they're like, well, I usually try this. Well, this has always been successful for me if I do it this way. And what do you pull them on the side and you're like, that's not the high right cycle way. What do you do with that, Megan?
From the very beginning, I think it's so important to hire the right people. I mean, our number one core value is to show up with passion. And I think that you can teach technique to almost everyone, but you cannot teach passion and personality to people. And so I really want to see people who come and ride at our studio, who support the rest of our team, who want to teach at this studio and not just teach in general.
Hmm.
So I would say we don't really have a lot of issues with that because I think we just hire the right people and then we make them go through a training program to learn our style. And it's really important to us that they teach the high ride method because we want our studio to feel like a brand, whether you come to my class or Alyssa's class, who is one of our instructors. Like, it has to feel cohesive. And so from the
No doubt.
very beginning we make that clear, and if we're not seeing that they're following that, then we definitely have steps to like get them there.
Very good.
But overall our team is so passionate and so great, even if they're a 1099, and they're the ones that have built this studio into what it is today.
Sometimes you have to have clients though. They're like, I really want to. Does Jenny have any openings? I mean, Bobby's okay, but I like Jenny better. I'm sure you have that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for sure. We've had instructors like my sister who opened this studio with me, and Alexa, and one of our lead instructors who have been with me for 5.5 years. So they have a huge following that, wants to come to their Tuesday at 6 a.m. every single Tuesday, and they'll get on the wait list. So yes, everyone has their favorites, but, you know, still some of our newer instructors, people are obsessed with, and they are their favorite. I think in general, um, our instructors are so strong across the board that you can really go to any of our classes and fall in love with it, but you're still going to go at the times that work for you or with the instructor that you're closest with.
And I would think every once in a while it might be neat to try a different instructor just to spice it up a little bit, right? Because maybe you get
For
tired of
sure.
maybe you get tired of, I don't know, their style. Every once in a while you're like, okay, I'm ready to see somebody else, right? I mean, hey, that happens with us. Sometimes we have clients that work with the same recruiter so long, human nature, it just gets stagnant or whatever. We flip a different recruiter into the same client, boof, all of a sudden it's everybody's fresh again. So who knows? Maybe sometimes they want to, it's good for them to switch instructors, I would think.
Well, I agree. And I mean, even when I try to go to a lot of our different instructors, I feel like I learned something from them and
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
re-energized by
Yeah.
them. And to see their passion reignites my passion. So yes, I feel that riders feel that and team members feel that.
You and your husband then are obviously in super great shape, physically. I mean, you have to be, right? I mean, you're around it all the time. I would think you're in great shape. I don't know. Do you feel as you're going to get older? Do you feel pressure around that at all? Do you ever think about that? You're like, okay, how am I going to stay in perfect shape when I'm 49 years old? And do you feel pressure around that at all? Like how you look, what kind of shape you're in, what your weight
Mhm.
is. I mean, do you and your husband, do you think about those things? Do you worry about that at all?
Yeah, I even since we started, I've always been a curvier woman. I am 35 years old. This is my body. I mean, I work out all the time and I am a curvier woman still. And, I do think that there is this stigma in
Mm,
the fitness industry that
mm,
you have to have rock hard abs and you have to
mm,
be
mm.
super thin and you have to be in perfect shape, whatever perfect shape means
Yeah,
to
right,
society at the time.
right.
But what I've realized is that, I have a real body and I am still comfortable being up there in front of a full class of women and men. And, I am not going to starve myself to look like what's this that we should look like, right? But I can outcycle pretty much anyone, right?
I would
And
think so.
yes, and I think that what I've learned is that I am inspiring people every single day, no matter what I look like. It's
Yeah.
it's how I show up in the world. It's the words that I say in my classes. It's how I challenge people. It's how I make them feel about themselves, and that has nothing to do with what I look like.
Interesting.
And
Great
that's
answer.
really important
Great
to
answer.
me.
Yeah, great answer. Wonderful answer. By the way, if you did yeah, it's probably very inspiring because if look like Barbie or whatever, a lot of the female clients you have there might actually be turned off by that. They might actually be like, okay, no, I'm not doing this. Yeah.
Well, and I think in general, what we've tried to tell our whole team and all of our writers is like, don't judge a book by its cover, right?
Yes. Right.
Some people might look like Barbie and that's their natural shape, or some people might be curvier like me, or some people might be even curvier than me. But at the end of the day, it's not about what you look like. I think fitness is so important for your mental health and your
Amen.
physical health. And that
Yes.
doesn't always have to do with what you look like on the outside. So,
Bingo.
so that's important to us as a studio that we just don't focus on that.
Really glad you said that. For me, when I do my little exercises, which is nothing compared to what you do on a regular basis, but I have a little routine I go through. I just think that's what's important. If you just have some sort of routine,
Mhm.
the psychological effect of that, um, I believe to be huge. I think it just sets your tone for the day or whatever. If you just accomplish whatever that is, you know, maybe you're going to do 50 setups. Okay. Whatever, like whatever your goal is, maybe you're going to walk 3 miles, maybe you're going to walk 1 mile, if you'll just get into a routine and do it, you don't have to look like a Hollywood movie star. None of us have time to just work out all the time, except for maybe you, because you do it for a living. But
Because it's my life. Yeah.
just get into a routine because it will make you feel better about yourself mentally, physically, get your heart racing a little bit. That's what's important. You don't have to look like a super athlete, just to do things. And I'm a big believer in that. Because when I don't do my routine in the mornings, I always have a crappy day. It just doesn't feel right all day long. I just don't feel good. I don't know. I feel out of sorts, if I don't do my
Well, and
little,
it gives you energy and it gives you the right
yes,
chemicals are released in your brain, to make you happier after you work out. So,
totally.
yes, that is very important to us. And that's what we preach at High Ride that your physical health, very important, your heart health, very important, but also your mental health, just as important.
Yeah,
And
yeah, totally agree.
working out should be about that too.
Do you have a cool little like, you have like uh a nice locker room where you can like shower and then go get a massage or a sauna or have a drink or get a snack, or what's the build out like?
I wish that we had a sauna, but we have a great locker room. People can come in and shower, after working out, but it's pretty small. We have our lobby, we have our studio room, which is obviously the biggest part of our studio. And that has about anywhere from 36 to 38 bikes. And then a locker room for female and men. And
Okay.
yeah, that's really it.
The
Nothing
locker
too
room, I
fancy.
think the reason I bring up the locker room thing is because I feel like for some people that's important, right? Just the whole privacy and what's the build out of the locker room, and is it comfortable? It's got to be super clean, which I'm assuming it is. Um, that's kind of a big deal. The whole restroom shower situation for a lot of people, I think, is important, and I think that part keeps people out of the gym sometimes. Um,
I would agree. And I mean, especially for a class like cycle, you are sweating like crazy. I mean, you
yeah,
can't just go to work right after. You have
no,
to shower if you want
yeah,
to go to work, unless you don't sweat, but I'm not one of those people.
right.
So yes, that's always very important to us with every build out that we do, that we make our locker rooms comfy and cozy. And also, we have straighteners in there for women. We have shampoo, conditioner, and
Cool.
body wash. They don't have to bring anything. We have free towels. So yes, all of those things are important to us as a studio.
Yeah, very good. Okay, excellent. What's the long-term plan here? Are you gonna franchise this thing? Is that have you thought? I'm sure you've had those thoughts. What's the plan, Megan?
We want to open our third location. We want to have proof of concept in three locations. And we have talked to people here and there about doing joint ventures, but
Okay.
nothing has really panned out. I do think potentially in the future we would be interested in franchising or, doing a partnership like that. But right now, we're just really focused on our three locations and growing them and making them all very successful and profitable before we move forward.
How about location within a location? Like, at some giant health club, like the Denver Health Club or something. Any thoughts there?
I like that idea, but it would have to be done right because our studio is, the lighting, the music, the dark room, the words that we put on the wall, all of that is very important. So we would have to have control over making sure that it feels like the high ride, even if it is in a different location. But it's
Okay.
something we would be open to. I think we're always open to hearing different ideas. And if it makes sense, we're full steam ahead and in for it.
Okay, very good. Well, hey, congratulations on hey, I mean, now at this point, you've faced a lot of hurdles. I mean, little problems now come along, you're like, yeah, whatever. That's easy compared to what we've been through, right? I mean, you've made it through a lot already. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like that, but there's always something. You don't expect things to be thrown at you, but they always are, small and big, and you just got to work through them every single day.
And you sounds like you have. Congratulations to you and Scott and the entire team there. And thank you for sharing your story, Megan. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steve. It was great chatting with you.